Oh.
So you ever, when it's 100, don't you know add 2 zeros to the number?
All right. Good evening, everybody. And for those joining us in the interweb, joined this evening by Mr. Stowe Buntz, joining us here in Philadelphia. Stowe, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for bringing the weather with you as well.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. How was your trip? How was your arrival? Everything good?
Trip was easy. Nice drive up 13. Believe it or not, we didn't hit any traffic or rain till we got about 30 minutes outside of Philly.
It always seems that way,
And
doesn't
then
it?
I caught up with the wonderful hurricane.
Yeah. How's the family?
Family's good. Kids are good. They're not looking forward to school in about 2.5 weeks. I constantly hear about that every day, but they're definitely enjoying their summer.
Great. Well, full disclosure, I do have some questions that were provided
I love it.
to me by Mr. Jamal Pegg, one of our own here in Philadelphia. So, Jamal, thank you very much for kind of setting the table a little bit for me. A lot of this is some of the things that I already had in mind that I was going to discuss with you anyway. Pretty chill 2023 for you, huh? Not a lot going on. It was
2023 was rather relaxing, I should say.
Yeah. So why don't you take us through a little bit of the year? Like how did the year start off? Because we kind of all got a chance to participate in how it finished for you. But you know, at what point did you kind of have a feeling that it was going to be your year?
Oh man. So I'll go back to your first part. When did it all start off? It actually started at the back end of 2022. Went up to Canada for a 3-event weekend. Ran into the finals, back-to-back events, and then top 8 on the third event, which was able to get me into the Continental Cup. But it was also kind of like the magical sign that went up and said, "Oh man, you know you can compete," which I've always felt I could compete with anybody in North America. It was just actually doing it. So that event kind of allowed me to get qualified for the Continental Cup. I went in there as one of the heavy favorites with Alex Spellman. Ended up losing. It's okay with that. I lost to Spellman, who won it. But then that was where I actually laid the building block and took and kind of went with it. I was able to build on that, go into the first weekend of Indy. First event, run right into the finals, ended up losing to Womack. Jake Womack in the finals. He played an excellent game, and but that was kind of the like, all right, let's kind of push it really hard this year. Let's see what we can do for 2023. So,
Yeah, I mean, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. You know, the Neon Nightmare kind of took hold across at least the North American dart world, and everybody got a chance to you know, play a little bit of a part in terms of, you know, cheering you on from afar, even though it was across the pond. But why don't you talk a little bit about, you know, how did that go for your experience? You know, there's a lot, like we talked a little bit. I know you're a family guy from reading your posts and everything else. And it's a huge commitment just to coordinate all that, your travel, getting over there, getting settled. You know, what was that like?
that was very, very, very hectic. I'd already had a on paper commitment with Modus to go shoot the Modus Super Series. When I won the Continental Cup, it qualified me for the Grand Slam in Wolverhampton, which actually overlapped the Modus Super Series. So I had to make a tough decision after talking to friends and family and other players and promoters. The decision was to reach out to Modus, politely ask for forgiveness that, hey, I'm going to have to back out of that week. They 100% were supportive and understood. So then I had to cancel all of that travel arrangements for Modus, ended up eating some of that cost. But I made up for it at Wolverhampton. So,
Yeah. I know a lot of players over here. Everybody always speculates what the green room is like for one of these events, because obviously, you know, darts rooted over here. When we first started in Philly subscribing to what I'll call the PDC formats, we had started to enforce a dress code. There was no drinking at the board. right? All of which we were seeing of what the sport was trying to become mainstream over there. But everybody knows that in the green room, I guess the players get a chance to certainly warm up and unwind and relax. What is that? And how were you received? Like, did you feel like the third wheel? Or did you have enough of a relationship with some of the players before you went over?
I did not have a relationship with any of the players prior to going to Wolverhampton. Funny story, my wife was, when we were at the Wolverhampton Hotel, she was out vaping, ran into Rob Cross, struck up a conversation with him. That was 2 nights before the event started, and that relationship kind of just blew up into the relationship where we speak about every other week via phone. He's come over here. We've done some practicing. I practiced with him over there, along with the rest of the guys in Rab Bain's camp. Scotty Williams, Josh Rock. I'll be able to put up some practice sessions with those guys. So I did create a family afar. Some of the other players were definitely welcoming. They had apparently watched YouTube and seen some of my matches. That was interesting. Actually, one of them made the comment that they never wanted to play me in cricket. That was pretty funny. But for the most part, yeah, 95% of them were open arms. Even the PDC staff, they were amazing. The PDC staff in Wolverhampton treated me so well, and I could not be any more grateful for that welcome. The practice room, the green room that you're referring to, it's definitely relaxed. It is still professional. There's a lot of joking going on, a little banter amongst the players, especially about performances or lack of performances at previous events. But it's still professional. It's still monitored. There's still the PDC has staff in there, and they kind of monitor to make sure it isn't just a giant party and everybody is maintaining the professionalism.
Right.
So.
And then, the moments now you're getting ready, you're warming up, you're going through your routine, you're going to go up to shoot your match. Largest crowd, fair to say, largest crowd you've ever played in front of for a
Hands down. I'd say.
And what was the heart rate doing, and how did you kind of get for that 30 seconds to get from the back of the room to the stage, and then what did you have to do to regain focus that you were going into this? Do you remember walking up? Because I don't know that I would.
So the walk up isn't as simple as a lot of people think. At Wolverhampton, the actual players' practice room is on the opposite end of the building from the stage. So you actually walk out the players' room, walk down the hallway, go down the entire length of the building, go downstairs, go outside for 60, 70 feet, come back in another door, come around, and then there you're at the back of the stage. Where there's another practice room that has a board for when they do commercial breaks. That's where you walk off and you do some practicing there to stay warm, kind of keep the blood flowing. It's not just as easy as step in a room, hey, you're up, and it's a few steps. No, it's definitely like a maze to get there. And I think that honestly was probably the most nerve-wracking, is because it took so long to get there. From where I was, the adrenaline's flowing, you're pumped up, they come look at you, they tell you you're up, they give you your 3-minute, 5-minute countdown, or tell you, hey, you got 9 more darts. Usually they tell you how many more darts you have.
Okay.
And then they take you to that player's room behind the stage. So you actually go there and you're practicing with your opponent on the same board while that previous match is finishing up. You usually spend about 4 minutes in there. They do whatever interviews on stage for that match. They all exit, and then you get the countdown: 15 darts, 12 darts, 9 darts, and then they open the doors. You walk out to the edge of the crowd where the crowd can just barely see the players, and then that's when the moment becomes actually real. That I'm getting to go play on stage in front of thousands of people and millions of people on TV. So that's really when the kind of, oh man, what the hell am I about to get into? Kind of hits you, and it's fun. It's everything. It's exhausting. It's draining. It's exciting. It's anything you can think of. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your wife was over with you.
She was.
Other folks that were over, the family section, does it hit you? Does it really hit you too when you get that moment right before you go on that, hey, I'm doing this? And
the first night it was just the wife and my player representative from Shot. They were there. Then as the event unfolded and I started to do well and go rounds into it, Dave Garfinkel from DJD flew over to hang out with me. Danny Lobby, who was over there with his manager Jamie, they were in the area. I got them some tickets. They came over, and I was able to get a bunch of people. Another one of the shot designers came, and I was able to get a good solid group of people in the family section. So it was more than just kissing my wife. It was kissing my wife and high-fiving a bunch of friends.
Right.
So
Very cool. Very cool. So, what was you're facing Peter Wright to kick things off. Obviously over here, right? We're listening to the broadcast or watching via our PDC TV subscription, and obviously comparisons. Peter Wright being the character that he is, adopting the thing. You showed up dressed to the nines. So what was to take any razzing for that and while you were there, or how did that?
A little.
Yeah.
At first, it was a little. There were some not so fun comments, and then there was people that appreciated it and understood it, respected it, and then for the most part, most people just didn't even know. I think I was just at that point another dart player,
Right.
But he's a two-time world champion.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be a two-time champion?
Absolutely. What was that? I mean, at what point in that, what do you think was a turning point for you in that match? Like what set you in to where you were like, I can do this? Not that you didn't have the confidence going in, but first time on that big stage playing that type of player, was there a moment?
I think the moment actually happened before the match even started. Got up on stage. The referee tells you, you got 10 seconds, 12 seconds before getting ready to count you down. And then you count your 9 darts and you shoot your 9 darts. I think when I was shooting my 9 darts and I realized that the crowd is chanting Peter Wright. And I mean, I think if you go back and watch the video, I'm chanting Peter Wright
Right,
too.
yeah.
I think at that point when I realized the crowd and how loud they were, and you could feel the stage vibrating because of how loud they were. I think at that moment when I realized I can still hit triples and doubles, and the crowd just felt like background noise. It felt like Charlie Brown's parents. That there wasn't one individual I could hear over another. It was just positive noise. It was positive screams, yells, and it felt oh so real and in the moment. And I said, okay, well, that was my biggest fear, is I was going to get up on stage, get clammy, get nervous, lock up, tense up. That definitely did not happen. Once I realized after like the 6th dart and the warm up, I was going to be okay. So, all right, well, let's go out and show the world what you can do. And when I checked the 137 out with the trip 19 and 2 tops, at that point I was like, I'm feeling good. I feel like this is going to be a good match.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. How hot is it on that stage? Because we hear it on the thing with the lights and the cameras and everything going on. Is that, I mean,
It's definitely it's not necessarily hot. It's just there's no moving air. It's stagnant air. There is no breeze. And obviously so it doesn't disrupt the darts, the flight of the darts. But yeah, it is definitely a temperature difference between that being on stage and the rest of the venue. I will say the players' room, they try to keep the players' room as close to the temperature on stage as possible to get you acclimated. It's still hard for them to do, but they try. The PDC definitely tries.
yeah. Another question, was it your first time abroad? Had you been abroad
Yes.
before?
No, sir. Well, other than Canada.
Okay.
So yes, it was my first time overseas playing. Well, not playing for the PDC, but overseas playing for the PDC. I played for the PDC a handful of times when they had the North American Open over here, and they used to have a lot of the floor events over here. The one they had in Atlantic City, up at Mohegan Sun, I think it
Yeah.
was. I played there as well many years ago. So, but yes, first time overseas in Europe.
Now you have the success that you have in that tournament. We're all psyched because now we're thinking worlds, and it was like, wow, you're going to roll right into something. Like we're hoping everybody's now saying, yeah, I think this could be one of them stories because you get the experience. Not only did you get it, it's not going to be too far removed from the Alley Pally. Now you're at the Alley Pally. What is that? Just walking up to that, the history, everything. What were you thinking when you got there?
Driving in the Uber up the hill to the Alley Pally and just seeing it, it was definitely amazing. It's just the sight, what you see, and you see the banners of all the top players, former world champions. You see hundreds and hundreds of people congregated, all dressed in all kinds of costumes and outfits, and then it becomes like, oh man, this is the real deal. Like you're there, you're playing at the Alley Pally, which is something I thought I would have never done 20 years ago when I first started playing darts, or over 20 years ago. So to kind of put it in context, it was a lifetime experience.
Yeah. Did they hang John Part's banner up this year?
I do not know.
I kind of remember watching one of the worlds where they started to do that, and I think they omitted John the first year that they hung former world champions up, and he was in the commentary booth, so that was a little awkward. But played Kevin Dotes. Obviously, he probably knew as much about you as you knew about him. Maybe, I don't know. So what do you do? Do you? It's you and the board. We all know that ultimately,
yes.
right?
Yes.
It's not, Phillies are doing well. We're following the Phillies. We hear all the things about pitchers, catchers. Catchers are doing reports on hitters. What do you do any of that? Do you want to know? Does it matter? What do you do for prep if you've never played someone?
I don't think really, and this is my opinion, I don't think there's very much prep you can do against your opponent. Because like you said, you're playing the board. It's not like I'm playing defense. So, he shoots a fadeaway. There's no defense. You cannot block shots. So at that point, it's essentially 5-on-1's a rat race. Whoever scores heavy and hits the double first. It's a rat race down the board. The only thing you can really, in my opinion, the only thing you can really take away from watching or learning about your opponent is how do they react when pressure, when you apply pressure, when you go up 2 legs, 3 legs, 2 sets, 1 set, what does it look like and how do they respond to that pressure? That's about the only thing you can study. But still, even at that point, even if you go up 2 sets to 0 on your opponent and they may start to feel the pressure and not shoot as well, it doesn't mean you're not going to. There's so many legs and matches I've lost where I've gotten up on my opponent 3, 4, 5 legs and felt I was in cruise control, and then I blinked and lost the match. I don't think there's any real scouting you can do against opponents in the dart sport. I really don't. That's my opinion.
I would probably want a heads up if I was going to play somebody like a Justin Pipe, who we watched back in the day.
Yeah,
or depending on where you stand on the Aki, Andrew Gilding might run you over with his little walk across the toe line there type thing. And
so there's definitely probably a little quirks. Players that play slower, players that play faster. You do also pay attention to that, because if you are a rhythm player, but a steady rhythm, the last thing you want to do is play against a fast rhythm player, and next thing you know, you're throwing darts faster than you have ever thrown in your lifetime. And although you may be hitting or staying solid, that fast rhythm is still something you're not used to. So you're using more energy, you're going at their pace, you're making your opponent more comfortable. I do know there's certain players that probably play a little strategy into that. They may slow down or speed up based on who they are playing against. it's not something that's really bothered me. I take as long as you want, go as fast as you want. I'm gonna go at my pace.
Did you hear about the gamesmanship? You know, we hear about it a little bit on the broadcast. You know, sometimes that when they're trying to fill time during the match, they'll occasionally bring up you know, different things that somebody will do. I know Dimitri Vandenberg of late with his
Woosah.
yeah, and the fact that he's was, you know, he's been open with dealing with the mental side of the game and what it means to him and different things that he's been practicing. And some people have turned, I think some people have maybe thrown the BS card down, saying, now you know exactly what you're doing and you're slowing the game down at times. I mean, did you hear about any of that or see any of that while you were there?
I didn't see any. You do hear players talking amongst themselves in the players' room about other players and like I said, their speed or their lack of speed, and just little quirks and I don't know, things that may agitate other players. But other than that, it's clean. There's no disrespect. Everybody, even in the players' room, players that you would think or you look at on TV when you watch them on stage, you think, oh man, them guys gotta hate each other. In the back room, in the players' room, they're laughing, they're joking, they're boosting each other up. But when you get on that stage, at that point, it's game time, right? So it's a paycheck to support your family or your livelihood. Mm-hmm. So the fun banter and the fun joking, that you know, you hit that stage and that's the line. Now you've gone from this is fun to now this is professional. It's business. So.
Just on format real fast, your preference, legs or sets? What do you?
I prefer legs. Again, because, and I'll use some of my matches just in the CDC over the last year and a half. For some reason, I'm like Rocky. I need to be 4 or 5 rounds of bleeding and busted up and look like there's no hope in sight for me to be able to just go turn the switch and riddle off, you know, being down 4-0, 4-1 and come back and win, you know, 7-5. I don't know why that is. I wish I would not have to be that way, but for some reason I need that longer format, which you do not get in set play, to be able to, you know, weather the storm, for a lack of better terms. Yeah. I need lots of legs consecutively till I can find my groove, find my rhythm, weather whatever my opponent's best darts are, and then go, all right, my turn. You don't get that advantage in leg play. I found that out. I mean, not leg play, but in set play. I found that out at Alley Pally really quickly when I felt like I was in every set and blinked and was several sets down. And I was like, all right, well, this is going to be a tough one to get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you mentioned players earlier, Alex Spellman, Danny Lauby, Dave Cameron, Jeff Smith, all the folks that you run into over here in North America on a regular basis. Something that we've also talked about on the Philly dart scene for the longest time. You know, we have our big competition is the Mr. and Miss Philadelphia Championships every year, and it's hotly contested, but it's also people that play each other all the time, and people that are in form, coming into form, going out of form. But there's also, you can't help sometimes but get beyond. When you're playing those players, you may have your Huckleberry, or you might have your tripping stone of somebody. Just, you know, you don't know why it is, but man, I play this guy and it's a dog fight every time, and I can't put my finger on it. Did you feel freer playing in the tournaments over there because there was there was no scar tissue?
Honestly, yes. And the difference was all they knew of me was what they had seen online, what they had read online. None of them had ever been in a room with me. None of them had ever actually seen me physically throw a dart in person. So yes, I felt like I had somewhat of I'm not gonna say advantage, but somewhat of a wild card, because people didn't know what to expect. How is he gonna react under the lights? How is he gonna react on the stage? How is he gonna react in the players' room? So yes, here locally, CDC floor events or even the CDC majors, everybody knows everybody. Most of us room together in Airbnbs or split hotel rooms or travel together. So we're all good friends, and then having to play against each other on a regular basis and beat each other up and try to, at the same time, if you get drawn against them, I'm beating you up, but I'm going to support you as well. You do tend to get a little more relaxed here, playing against the same players, which I would imagine them gentlemen over there do the same thing, on their floor events.
We see the pictures too. It's there seems to be cliques of players that with the travel that's involved, all the events in Germany, they room together. So I assume that they have some of the similar things. How are we doing on time, Britt? I don't want to.
Maybe how much we got left?
Here we are, 2024. We're going to be coming up on the Continental Cup again this year.
Hosted here.
Congratulations. Right in the city of brotherly love, right here at Columbia Social Club.
For ticket sales.
Yes, stay tuned. Probably want to get those tickets quicker than you could get your PDC World Championship tickets from what I was reading online. I think it's also one of everybody's bucket list. I know it's on my bucket list. I'm going to get over there for a World Championship at one point.
It is amazing, I will tell you. Sitting in the crowd, it's one of a lifetime experience.
Yeah. Being at MSG was crazy. I could only imagine how.
Exactly.
MSG, I will tell you, being on the stage at Worlds, being on the stage at MSG, being on the stage at Wolverhampton, MSG, Worlds. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
On the amount of excitement, the amount of
The crowd was
yelling,
nonstop,
constantly cheering, singing. Wolverhampton, MSG, Worlds, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's strictly my opinion.
So what's on tap for you now? Like right now, like what's going on? How do you feel? You feel you're in a good place? Where's your game?
I believe I am. I always start off every year a little slow and usually make a hard push at the end of the year. And I think that's because of my lack of practice. I don't really have a good practice routine. I try to get in an hour a night if I'm lucky. Some weeks I go 2-3 nights without throwing a dart, which is not good. But with the CDC having their events 3 weeks apart all through the summer up to Continental Cup, and then the 1 or 2 additional events that I do outside of the CDC, it keeps the muscle memory in the arm loose and it allows me to stay more consistent.
Okay. North American darts. Where's our Luke Littler? Is he out there? He or she? I mean,
I think so. I'd like to believe within the next 5 to 10 years we'll have a young youth darter that'll go through the ranks and get to the stage and the level that maybe not Luke Littler, but maybe a Dimitri Vandenberg. Be a former youth world champion and win a few majors. I think it's definitely an opportunity that we have, and we control the destiny for whoever that young player is. It takes the older players to help the promoters in North America to actually promote the sport correctly, in my opinion. Get behind each other, and what that looks like is some organizations who normally would not work together are going to have to eventually work together if they want to produce another John Park. If they want to produce another 3-time world champion, a lot of the promoters in North America are going to have to get together and help promote the youth instead of constantly working against each other. That's strictly my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'd have to, strictly Carl's math here, but, I'd probably put the average PDC player age over there at around 28.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say average age over here, 18 years over that.
Every bit
Be
of
fair?
that's
It's,
very
and
accurate.
it's just, you
I'd say
can't,
mid-20s and mid-40s.
yeah, you can't help but see that and think that, that's got to change in order for that. Where are you going to be next? You want to give a shout out? Like, what's going on with your sponsors? You want to give a shout out to the folks that are behind the man behind the curtain?
Yeah, so sponsors, Condor, Shot, DJD, Hat Launch, Defiance Dart, 717, Nine Dart Out, Good Peeps, Herbert Management Group. Brian does a great job helping me get places. Dave from DJD is constantly. I may have put my foot in my mouth last year in an interview and said I'd have a new jersey for every event I play in, and as much as it probably pissed him off, he's actually enjoyed designing every single new jersey that I wear. So hats off to DJD. Man, they're phenomenal. Just the product line. Where I'm gonna be next? Niagara Falls. Next CDC floor event. After that, I will be at WADA. After that, it'll be Indiana. Then I go to Modus. And then I will have Continental Cup. So I do have another stint I'm gonna do overseas. That's right around the corner. It's a couple months away, so looking forward to that. And then hopefully after Continental Cup, I'll be going to Wolverhampton and to the Worlds again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of what I'm hoping the rest of my year looks like.
Yeah, I think we all do too. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure interviewing you.
Shout out to
Britt
and
Britt.
the Philly crew for inviting me and having me this weekend.
And,
I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. And look forward to seeing you at all those events. A lot of people get to see you live. If you haven't checked out Modus Super Series, I love to check in with it because it's like darts, like 24/7.
Oh man.
If I just feel like watching something, I watch the recap. I'm not getting up at 4:30 in the morning to follow some of those matches, but certainly good luck.